All right, welcome to this explainer. Look, as policymakers and folks tasked with national security, we know the threat landscape is constantly shifting. But right now, it's basically cracking open right beneath our feet. We're looking at an absolute paradigm shift in cybersecurity, all thanks to an AI model called Claude Mythos. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for our critical systems and, frankly, why those of us in the defense sector are ringing the alarm bells so loudly.
So here's the central dilemma, the one that's literally keeping me and my colleagues awake at night. Is our national infrastructure actually defensible against AI? I mean, we've spent decades, literally decades, building walls to keep human hackers out. But when you look at the sheer speed and the, well, terrifying capabilities of advanced AI like Claude Mythos, you got to ask yourself, are the defenses we rely on completely obsolete? Let's take a structured look at this crisis.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the infrastructure threat. Then we'll dive into the anatomy of vulnerability chaining. After that, the glass-wing compromise, and finally, we'll look at the global cyber race.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the infrastructure threat and what exactly is at risk here.
From a national security standpoint, we're not just worried about someone hacking into a random laptop, right? We're looking at the massive societal pillars we all rely on. Power company IT systems, the stock exchanges that literally drive our economy, standard computing networks, and yes, even our highly secured U.S. military networks. These are the systems that govern our everyday lives, and the intelligence we're seeing suggests they could be completely compromised in a matter of minutes by this AI. Minutes.
Just listen to this quote from the developers who are actually testing the AI. It is absolutely chilling. We found a number of vulnerabilities where, as a user with no permissions, I can elevate myself to the administrator for the US military. I mean, wow. Imagine starting with 0 permissions, basically a nobody on the network, and suddenly you're the admin for the United States military. When we in defense see data like that, it fundamentally shatters every calculation we have for national defense readiness.
And you know what makes this whole thing so crazy? The sort of Trojan horse nature of it? Anthropic, the US company behind this, they didn't set out to build a cyber weapon. They trained Claude Mythos to just be really, really good at coding. But as a side effect of understanding complex code so deeply, the AI inadvertently became exceptional at cyber warfare. It's like they built a super smart assistant and accidentally forged a skeleton key for cyber attacks in the process.
Moving on to Section 2, the anatomy of vulnerability chaining and how this threat multiplies.
So the core mechanism that's causing this global panic is something called vulnerability chaining. See, experts aren't just freaked out by how fast the AI is, they're terrified of this specific ability. Basically, vulnerability chaining is when an AI finds multiple, independently minor system weaknesses, stuff that really doesn't matter on its own, and stitches them together into a single, highly sophisticated attack path.
Let's walk through exactly how this happens, because it's crucial to understand. Step 1, the AI spots a low-risk bug. Now, a human IT worker would probably see this and just ignore it, right? Because on its own, it doesn't give you access to anything important. But then, step 2, Claude Mythos takes that ignored bug and sequences it with 3, 4, maybe even 5 other completely unconnected minor vulnerabilities. And then, step 3, boom. Out of nowhere, those harmless little bugs form a highly sophisticated exploit that yields total system control. It's literally taking a handful of typos and turning them into a master key.
The real kicker here is that the model has this totally non-human ability to spot these hidden attack chains. It's exposing vulnerabilities that our absolute best human cybersecurity experts have overlooked for decades. And for those of us writing defense policy, this is the ultimate blind spot. I mean, how do you patch a sequence of errors that the human brain literally cannot conceptualize? You just can't.
That brings us to Section 3, the glass-wing compromise, short-term defenses and internal tension.
Because this vulnerability chaining is so dangerous, Anthropic has understandably kept Claude Mythos on a very tight leash. They launched this initiative called Project Glasswing. Think of it as an immediate containment strategy. They're basically only allowing a super select group of US partners to use the model defensively. The goal is to identify those hidden vulnerabilities in our own systems before the bad guys, whether that's criminal hackers or foreign adversaries, figure them out.
But as you might guess, containment causes friction. What we're seeing now is a pretty intense standoff between government defense demands and corporate guardrails. You've got the Pentagon pushing hard for unrestricted use of the AI to aggressively beef up national defense. But on the flip side, Anthropic has rejected certain implementations, specifically things like surveillance, because they want to maintain strict rules and control over how their tech is used.
And that highlights a deeply, deeply concerning systemic issue for us in government.
Right now, a single private company holds the power to decide who gets access to arguably the most crucial cybersecurity tool in existence. It's a brilliant but honestly terrifying illustration of just how powerful big tech has become. They literally hold the keys to our national security, dictating how the government is allowed to protect its own infrastructure.
All right, final section. Section 4, the global cyber race, sovereignty, and survival. So, while the US government is busy wrestling with Anthropic over access, the situation for our global allies is dangerously limited. Right now, it's incredibly unclear who outside the US actually has access to these defensive tools. This creates an immediate, massive strategic deficit for foreign governments. They desperately need models like Claude Mythos to defend their own critical infrastructure from these exact same AI-driven attacks. To put that in perspective, just look at the anxieties coming out of India right now. They've stated that without access to advanced systems, they could fall behind in cyber defense, undermining digital sovereignty. And this isn't just about missing out on the newest tech trend, right? It represents a huge global fear. If allied nations can't reach agreements with these private manufacturers to get access, they simply cannot secure their own systems. They literally lose their digital sovereignty.
So where does that leave everyone? Well, present day, there's basically zero clear roadmap for international access. Looking a bit ahead to February 2026, there's a major AI summit lined up where leaders like India's Prime Minister Modi, alongside tech folks like Anthropic's founder, are going to be pushing hard for global cooperation. But honestly, in the years ahead, trying to establish global rules is going to be a massive headache, especially when you've got national security, cyber defense, and global intelligence all tangled up together.
This race to control advanced AI, it's accelerating every single day. If our brightest human minds miss these vulnerability chains for decades, and if sovereign governments are currently struggling just to get their hands on the defensive tools, you really have to ask yourself, who is actually protecting the grid right now? It's a stark question, but it's one every single policymaker needs to confront as we navigate this wild new cyber front. Anyway, thanks for tuning into this explainer. I really hope it helped map out the scale of the threat we're dealing with today.